Hey everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to get started with Anvil Zapier integration. Zapier is an automation platform that essentially allows anyone to connect two pieces of software. It's one of my favorite productivity tools that I've used as an operations person in my career, and I'm really excited that Anvil has built an integration to kind of open up a world of possibilities to our workflow users. Today I'm just going to show you how to get a very basic Zap setup, and then you can kind of use your imagination and skills to think about any direction you want to take that. So yeah, Zapier is super powerful. It has over 4,000 apps on their marketplace. So Anvil is one of them, but the entire Google Suite, Salesforce, HubSpot, pretty much anything you can think of, Autopilot. Yeah, so it's a really, really, really powerful tool. And the goal of today is just to show you the basics so you can get started. So we're going to need three things open. So one is your Anvil dashboard. Two is a Google Sheet with the first row filled out with column headers. So these are going to be what you're mapping the data in your Anvil workflow to. So it should be, each of these should map to a field in your Anvil workflow. And then finally, your Zapier dashboard. And the last thing we need to get started is you're on your Anvil workflow dashboard. You actually need to complete a test submission. You don't have to do this, but it does make setup a lot easier because you'll actually have some live data that you can work with and are familiar with when you're setting up those mappings. So you can complete a test submission by clicking this little beaker. I've already done one, so we can get started. The first thing you need to do is create a Zap. And we're going to choose a trigger and an action. So every Zap has this same basic format of trigger and action. So a trigger is like something happens that's going to start the automation. And then the action is like what actually comes out of the automation. So in this case, what we want to do is have a completed workflow create a row in our Google Sheet. But it can be a whole variety of things. So I encourage you to play around with that. There's also a ton you can do. You can add filters, you can add delays, you can add branching actions. It's a whole world of possibilities. So we're going to start Anvil. And then two triggers we have here. One is a signer completion. So when someone completes their role as a signer, this can have multiple signatures per workflow, or the entire workflow completion, which is what we're going to do today. And then I've already connected my Anvil account, so it's just as simple as selecting that, but Zapier will have you connect yours if it's not already set up. Choose your organization, choose a workflow, and then this is going to pull in all that data from the test submission. So you can see it's a little messy. This is partly why it's helpful to have a test submission that you're familiar with, but it's going to get cleaned up later when we go to connect Google Sheets. So essentially, we're going to follow the same process here. Again, Google Sheets account is already connected. Choose the sheet. Great, so now you can see this has those column headers that we put in our Google Sheet are already here. And so now all we have to do is actually map the Anvil workflow data to these columns. So just so you can see, this is the format that the Anvil data is going to come in. Like I said, it's a little bit cleaned up from last time, but it's definitely easier to kind of search for what you want. So name, it's going to be Sydney, so releasee full name here. And then email, we see email, date. This is actually not a date that we captured as part of this form, but the date that the submission was completed. So that's sent over as metadata here, completed at. And then this is kind of like a fancy trick that I think is pretty helpful. So I wanted to show you. I want to include a link to the actual submission itself. So what you can do is from your Anvil dashboard, just copy that root URL And then you're going to add a slash at the end, and then just append the submission EID at the end of it. So that is a really powerful tool that you can use for a lot of different things. I'll leave it there for you to think through. And then this is like a little preview of what's going to get sent to Google Sheets. So we'll test this out. Cool. So it looks like it worked, but let's go check. Yep, that looks good. Just need to unbold this. So you can see the releasee name, email, the date it was completed, and this link. I'll show you how that looks. Cool. That is indeed the submission that we were working with here. So yeah, so the last step is to name this Zap. So we're going to call it General Liability Workflow to Google Sheet. Great. Turn it on. And that's that. I hope this is a helpful video to get you started with Anvil and Zapier. Again, you can take this a million different ways. I'm so excited to see what our workflow users are able to accomplish by connecting Anvil to so many different things. If you have any questions, just email us, support@useanvil.com.